Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Mitchell, and I've got a fantastic message for you on the Master Key, or the Master Key to Success. I'm in construction. I own a fantastic company. My name's Robert Allen Mitchell, by the way. I've got a great website, robertallenmitchell.com. You can go and find other videos there. You can go to my Facebook page, Robert Allen Mitchell, on my public page. Go to my public page. Okay, so I'm also in construction. I have a construction company called Quick Dry Restoration and Remodeling. And so I know a lot about keys. And sometimes you have to have a lot of keys to get into a lot of doors. Well, there's a thing called a master key, and that master key will unlock all the doors. And I believe the master key in life, especially for success, is attitude. Attitude is everything. Zig Ziglar says it like this: it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that will determine your altitude. Attitude to me is a slant. It's the way you look at things. It's the way you look at life. So if you're like me and you've heard a lot of messages on success or keys to success, you might say to yourself, I remember hearing a lesson on, and it was the key to success. And I thought, well, there can't just be one key. So I thought to myself, there's a key ring of success, and there's all these keys on there. Attitude would be one of them, or organization, or discipline, leadership. And so, so I thought, well, I'm going to go against that train of thought, because I want to talk about the master key that unlocks many, many, many doors. Now, I heard Ivan Misner, the founder of BNI, Business Network International. It's a fantastic organization for business owners. I'm in it. So if you want to learn about BNI, let me know, especially if you have a business. It's a organization that meets together with other business owners, and we give each other referrals. We learn to trust each other. We learn what each of us does with our customers, and then we give each other referrals when we have a customer or a contact that needs our referral partner service. So anyway, Dr. Ivan Misner says that if he knew the secret to success, it wouldn't be a secret anymore. So I do think there is a mystery. I do think success is elusive. I think there's a mystery to success, and I think we have to unlock that mystery. Now, I've heard somebody say before that the door's not locked. It was a meme probably on Facebook that says, I've got bad news. The door to success is I don't have the key to success, or whatever. I don't have the key to the door to success. And I've got good news. It's not locked. I think it is locked. And I think it's locked by our mindset, by our attitude, by our thinking. And we need to unlock this thing right here, our brain, our thinking. We need to change our thinking. We'll change our world. Your attitude is how you determine and how you look at life. When we're done complaining, when we're done blaming the government, when we're done blaming the economy, when we're done blaming our spouse or our ex-spouse or our children or our parents or our community, when we're done blaming all those things for our failure, well, we're left with one thing, and that's our attitude. We can't change the world. We can change ourselves. And when we change ourselves, we change our world. Somebody said there's no elevator. I don't know if that's true. I don't know why there couldn't be an elevator. Why does there have to be steps? If we unlock the key and we discovered the secret, I think it would be simple. Matter of fact, I've heard it said like this: success is simple, just not easy. It would be easy if we knew how. It would be easy if we knew the formula. Like my grandson, he says, Grandpa, he's about 5. He goes, I don't know big numbers. He goes, I only know small numbers. And I said, well, what's 2 plus 2? And he said, 4. He said, see, that's so small. And I go, what's 2 million plus 2 million? And he looked at me and smiled and he said, well, it's 4 million. I said, that's a big number. You see, once we know the formula to success, then it's simple. May not be easy. It will be easy when we learn how. I don't like to say it's not easy. I don't like to say it's hard. I like to say it's different. It's different. We need to think differently. We need to imagine differently. We need to change our thinking. We need to change our attitude about things. And when we do that, it becomes different, and I'm not so sure it's hard. I think it's just different. And so the formula is the same. And so we can start tackling big problems when we fix our attitude. And when we fix our attitude, we start to fix our problems. So the master key to me is attitude. And attitude to me is 4 things. It's your thinking, and I think it's in this order. I think it's in this order. It's your thinking, it's your words, it's your faith, and it's your actions. If all 4 of these things are in agreement with each other, I want to say it like this: you've got a great attitude. If all 4 of these things are in agreement and they're positive and they're going towards a positive endeavor or goal, I would say that your attitude is right, that you have a good slant, a good attitude, a good way of thinking. Now, I want to break down these 4 things. Thoughts. Change your thinking, change your world. I went to a wonderful training program called BOLD. Business, Objective, a Life by Design, Not Default. It's a Keller Williams training program put on by a wonderful lady named Diana Kokoska. And it's a 7-week long program. Now, it's for realtors, but it's not just for realtors. So it's 1 day a week for 7 weeks. I would challenge you to go, because BOLD talks about mindset. And we have these wonderful BOLD laws. I've taken it 6 times. I'm not even a realtor. And the one of my favorites is the one I've said several times: change your thinking, change your world. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. As a matter of fact, a BOLD law is success is simple, just not easy. So we need to start with our thoughts, and then our words, and then our faith, and then our actions. Okay, now when I talk about faith, I don't want to talk about your belief systems. If I talk about belief systems, I'm talking about the way you think about things. Now, some people say that that's their faith. That's their belief system is their faith. I don't think so. I think faith is believing in the truth even when you can't see it. Even if your circumstances don't agree with the truth yet. Your circumstances are saying no, and the truth is saying yes. Your circumstances are saying, I can't do it, and faith and truth says, I can do all things. He that believes, nothing is impossible. So when your circumstances, when your life doesn't match your faith can begin to change your circumstances. So you can't change your circumstances, you can change yourself. And when you change yourself and you start growing into faith, you will start to change the things around you. The things around you start to change when the things inside you change. So I think it's faith or fear. And it's your choice. That's a BOLD law. Faith or fear, and you choose. So what do you choose? Fear, believing in something that's true, but you can't see it yet. Or fear, believing in something that's a lie or something that's bad, even if it hasn't happened yet, you see. So that's fear. So the belief system, your belief system could have fear in it, it could have faith in it, it could have truth in it, and it could have lies in it. Now, I believe the Bible, and the Bible says that faith comes by hearing, and hearing the Word of God. In other words, Faith comes by hearing the truth, you see. And I believe lies come from, or fear comes from hearing lies. And that's why I think our words are so important. So let's back up the thoughts. We change our thinking, we change our world. We have to start to take our thoughts and replace negative talks, negative self-talks, negative thoughts, negative thinking, and replace it with true thinking, pure thinking, faith thinking, positive thinking. And it starts right there. As a man thinketh, so shall he become. The second one is our words. I believe our words are powerful. Proverbs said that death and life are in the power of the tongue. The Bible says that if you will believe that the words you speak will come to pass, you will have whatever you say. So we start our thinking process and then our speaking process. And then the next one is faith, because faith comes by hearing. You start to speak the truth, you start to hear the truth, and then you start to have faith in the truth. You start to have faith in things that you cannot see. You start to have faith in things that are possible and plausible that haven't happened yet, you see. And that's when all things can become possible. You see how attitude could unlock so many doors? I mean, if part of attitude is faith, and if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, then all things are possible to you. The fourth one is action. I like to call it corresponding actions. Corresponding to what? Corresponding to your faith. Corresponding to your words. Corresponding to your thoughts. So when your thoughts and your words and your faith are congruent and are in agreement, and let's say they're all positive, and let's say they're all faith-based, and let's say they're all truth-based, and then your actions back all three of those other things, all things are possible. All things are possible. Matter of fact, faith without corresponding actions is dead. Okay, so we've talked about fear of faith. When I'm talking about faith, I'm talking about God's kind of faith. I'm talking about the kind of faith that God puts in our heart when we accept Him and when we accept that all things are possible because He's in control, He's God, and now we can allow Him to move in our life. Now, one other bold law that I really like is called spontaneity is a conditioned reflex. Spontaneity is a conditioned reflex. So what that means is we think we're just driving down the road, woohoo, everything's fine and dandy, and then something sets us off. We think it's that something that set us off. No, it's up here. It's a condition. Our minds are conditioned a certain way. Our minds can be conditioned for depression. Our minds can be conditioned for anger. Our minds can be conditioned for anxiety. Our minds can be conditioned for fear. And so what we need to do is recondition our minds, retrain our minds to positive things like peace, joy, faith, and love. And that is a work. That is your work. That is a work that you must do. God's going to work on the inside of you. We have to work on our minds. The good news is we can do it. The Apostle Paul said to transform yourself, to be ye transformed by the renewing of our mind. So we can change our life by renewing our thinking. Let me read the definition of condition. It means to have a significant influence on, determine the matter or outcome of something, cause something to occur in a particular way, to be a decisive factor. Conditioning means to be a decisive factor in something. It means control, govern, determine, decide, affect, touch, shape, guide. When I say that your mind is conditioned, I'm saying that it's shaped a certain way. It's guided a certain way. There's a sway in it. It's a bias. Your mind is biased. Your mind it has this conditioning, and it's a direct influence on something. It is something that will determine the outcome of something. When you have a condition, there's a predetermined outcome. I believe we were conditioned at conception. Some people say it's at birth. Some people say it's when you're 5 years old. I say it's at conception, because I believe that when God was knitting your little body together in your mother's womb, and he started knitting your ears together, and you started hearing your mom and dad fight about money, and your dad said, money doesn't grow on trees. Money's the root of all evil. Money can't buy happiness. When you started hearing all these things, it started conditioning your mind. The sad thing is it seems like we're conditioned negatively. And I think it's because we're in a negative world, and we need to learn how to be positive in it. Matter of fact, I believe Zig Ziglar has a book or has a message on how to be positive in a negative world. You turn on the news, it's seemingly negative. We could have a big growth in our economy, and they're fearful of a recession that could happen at any moment. Everything that we hear seems to be negative, and we need to filter out that negative and turn it into positive. So again, I say the good news is that we can be transformed by the renewing of our mind. The bad news is we were conditioned at conception to be negative, and we need to turn that around, and we can. I believe that God created our minds good, for good, and to be used for good. You see, that's the first good news. Then the bad news is they got conditioned to be negative, and then the next good news is we can transform our lives. We can be renewed by the renewing of our mind. We can be transformed by the renewing of our mind. Now, I have an interesting book here I want to share with you. It's called A Life on Fire Through Passion. This is the first edit. And actually, it hadn't even been edited. Like you would say, it's a first draft. So if you'd like a copy of this, there's a lot of pages. It starts on about page 14, because the first 14 pages was a workbook. In this book, I talk about how to live a life on fire through passion. And I talk about thoughts, words, faith, and action. And I want you to think about something. Like, for instance, can you see this magnifying glass? Okay. That magnifying glass and that sun and the paper or the wood that it's trying to burn represents something. Let me break it down like this. The sun stands for God. Or maybe it stands for the one thing that he called you to do, the passion that he's put into your heart, the calling that he's put into your heart. We all have gifts. We all have a passion. We all have something that we were born to do better than anybody else. Les Brown says it like this: you have seeds of greatness in you. What are those seeds? What are you called to do that nobody else can do? What's your gift? What's your calling? That's like the sun. The sun coming through the magnifying glass. The magnifying glass represents your heart. You see, we're a three-part creature. We're created in the image of God. That's our heart. That's our spirit. The Apostle Paul said to dedicate your spirit, your soul, and your body to God. So we're a three-part. Our spirit is our inner man. That inner man of the heart, the hidden man of the heart. That's what's created in the image of God. That's where the gifts are. That's where faith is. That's where everything that's good and true is, down deep inside your heart. When you ask God to come into your life, he comes into your heart. He doesn't necessarily come into your mind or your body. He's down in here in your inner man, your real you, the hidden man of the heart. The Apostle Paul said that we need to take that inner man and clothe our outer man with that. Because what is in the inner man? Well, it's the fruit of the Spirit. What is the fruit of the Spirit? Love, peace, joy, happiness, you see, riches and faith and all the positive things that God has for us. Jesus said, I'm the vine and you are the branches. Well, where does the fruit live? It lives on the branches. Where does it come from? It comes from inside. So we need to allow that inner life, that inner faith, that inner joy, that inner peace, and we need to let it come out and create fruit, tangible fruit in our lives. We need to have a manifestation of God's seeds that are on the inside of us, manifest themselves on the outside. That's why I said when faith doesn't match your outside, when you have joy on the inside and you don't have joy on the outside, your faith can make that happen. Your faith can change that if you allow the inner seeds of God's fruit to come out. It starts with the seed and it becomes fruit, and you're the branches, and that's where the fruit is supposed to go. So the magnifying glass in our illustration of starting a fire with a magnifying glass, I don't know if you've ever done that. You've got the sun out there, you got a magnifying glass, you got a little bit of wood over here, and you're going to put that magnifying glass there, the sun's going to shine through it, and you're going to start a fire. Now, you need a magnifying glass, and that magnifying glass represents your spirit, the real you, the inner you. We're a two-part being, or three-part being. The second part is our mind or our emotions, our attitude. That's the slant that I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. When you're wanting to start a fire, you've got to turn that magnifying glass just right, so that all of the power of that sun is coming through the magnifying glass and creating a focal point right on the thing that you're wanting to catch on fire, which in our case is your life. You want to live a life on fire through passion. How do you do that? You do it by living with your heart, life with your heart, and allowing God to come in and transform your outer life by using your inner life. And you use it by renewing your mind, by changing the way you look at things, changing the angle, changing the slant, reconditioning, no longer saying it's the economy's fault, no longer saying it's my spouse's fault, no longer blaming life on everything else. You start to say it's right up here. It's right here. If I change my thoughts, if I change my thinking, if I change my words, that'll change from faith to fear. And then if I have actions that back that up, and my actions back up my faith and my words and my thoughts, things are going to change. They're going to change for the better. You're going to start a fire, and it's going to be a life on fire. Okay? Now, here's an interesting thought for you may not know. If you put a little drop of water on that magnifying glass, it enhances the heat like 400 times, and it'll create a hotter fire. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Your body is water. Your body is a part of this formula. We need to take care of our bodies, eat healthy, exercise, go to the gym, think positive thoughts, read positive books. We need to feed our spirit, we need to feed our minds, and we need to feed our body with positive things. Now, the wood that we want to start on fire represents our actions or our life or our outer life, our hobbies, our work, okay, our family, the things that we're doing. Think about this. If you want to start a fire, you can't go get a bunch of wet logs out of a lake and try to catch them on fire. Those wet logs represents a negative, bad lifestyle. We have to make our lifestyle match our inner life. In other words, I can't work for the mafia. I just can't do it. I can't have a positive life knowing that I'm going to go hurt people. You see, I can't sell illegal drugs, especially to children. I can't get rich on things like that because it doesn't match my core values. It doesn't match who I am. Does your outer life, your culture, what you do, does that match your core, your inner life? Your core is who you are. Your culture is what you do. That's what's wrong with a lot of organizations. That's what's wrong with a lot of companies, is their core is solid. You see, their culture, not so much. Ivan Misner says it like this, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. In other words, your culture is going to determine your output, the way you treat people, the way you act, the way you talk to people, the culture, what you do, that represents the wood that you're trying to burn. You want that wood to be dry. You want that wood to be conducive to burning. You want some dry straw in there. And you don't want to wait until midnight. You don't want to wait until your darkest hour. You don't want to wait till the times are rough. You don't want to wait until it's so dark that the magnifying glass isn't going to work. You want to start that fire in the noonday sun. You want to start it as early as possible. You want to get out there and get in front of this situation so that you've got the magnifying glass in the heat of the day and start that fire. Then you want to go out and you want to bring the wood in and you want to get all this wood ready for nighttime. And then you might even go to the lake and you might get some of that wood that you didn't want to burn earlier and you might drag it to your fire, and that fire is going to dry out that wood. That fire is going to change things. We can change the people around us by changing their attitudes. We can't change them. We can only influence their attitudes. If we can begin to influence other people's attitudes by our attitude, then we're going to create a change all around us. Matter of fact, I've heard it said like this, that your attitudes are contagious. Is yours worth catching? I like to say it like this. I like to live a life with enthusiasm. And enthusiasm comes from three Greek wonderful words: in, theo, and ism. In means inside, theo means God. That's where we get the word theology from, theocracy from, the study of God. Theo also means breath, zesto, gusto, heart, spirit, energy, fire. See, that word means all that in the Greek. And then ism means our life. So the technical term would be live life with God on the inside. It also means live life from the inside out. Live life from your heart. Live life with your heart. Live life with passion and gusto and energy. Allow the inside to come out. I like to say it like this. Live life going through the emotion, not just going through the motions. Some people are just going through the motions. They get up, they go to work, they go to sleep, eat, sleep, and work. They say stuff like that. We need a purpose. We need a plan. That's what that heat is. That's what that one source is. What is God telling you to do? If you don't know, ask. Ask him, what is my purpose? What is my plan? What can I do? What am I supposed to do that I can do better than anybody? What's my son? What's my son that's supposed to go through my attitude, my spirit, go onto my wood and catch that wood on fire and help warm the rest of the world? What is your purpose? As Les Brown says, I'll say it again, what are your seeds of greatness? What's the thing that you're called to do that nobody can do? When you get that and you start to change your attitude and you start to get out of the blame game and you start to get into the gratitude game, then you will see that spark. You will see that tiny bit of smoke. It might not happen overnight. It will happen one night. I like the way John Maxwell says it. He says, you won't get to your destination in one day, but one day you will get there. I like the way Jim Rohn says it. You can't change your destination instantly. You can't change your destination instantly. You can change your direction like that. As soon as you change your thinking, as soon as you change your world, as soon as you go from negative to positive, as soon as you go from complaining to gratitude, you see, as soon as you go from negative words, I can't, to I can, I am, and I will, you see, as soon as you go from fear to faith, It's words, it's thoughts, it's thinking, and then of course, it's also action. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not the giants out there that hinder your destiny. It's the giant right here that hinders your destiny. You see, that monster under your bed when you were a child, you grew up and it got in your head, and that giant right here is the one that needs to be slain. And that's why I wear this shirt. I am a giant slayer, and you can wear one too. Email me at robert@alanmitchell.com, robert@robertallenmitchell.com, and I can get you a giant slayer shirt. I can get you one of these books on how to live a life on fire. We think we have competitors. That's one of our biggest problems. We think we're competing against the giants out there. We think we're competing against other companies, other people. We think we're competing for jobs and trying to climb the corporate ladder, and we're competing against our fellow men. No, ladies and gentlemen, we only have 3 competitors. Our first competitor is our past. And we need to leave our past in the dust, and we need to leave it behind us. We need to reflect on it. We need to learn from it, and then we need to move on. I like to say it like this: own your past. Take responsibility. Take accountability. Own our past. Don't let your past own you or your future. Our second competitor, you might have guessed it, is our present. Now, if you're not presently where you should be, if you're not perfect right now, you are in great company. The Apostle Paul himself said, I have not attained yet. And he said, but I press on towards the mark and the high calling of God. He just kept pressing on. So if you're not perfect yet in your present state, you're in great company, and I want to encourage you to press on. And so I like to say it like this: tell me your goals, and I'm happy. Tell me the action steps that you're going to do to make those goals come true, and I'm thrilled. Action is the key. Our third competitor is our future. And so I want to say this: if you desire something tomorrow that you do not have today, do something today that you didn't do yesterday, and you can begin to change your future. What can you do today that your 20-year future self will be happy for and will thank you? So replace your negative thinking. Remember, faith comes by hearing, and hearing the Word of God. The Apostle Paul said it like this, and I want to read this. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. And the God of peace shall be with you. Finally, my brothers, think on these things. Listen to what he says to think on. Think on these things. Fix your thoughts. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, what is honorable, think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise, whatever is just, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, whatever is of good repute. Dwell on these things. Whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there is any moral excellence, whatever is holy, friendly, proper, don't ever stop thinking about these things, but fill your minds with these things that are fair, whatever is acceptable. Keep on thinking about these things, whatever is worthy of respect, whatever is righteous, those things that are precious, deeds of glory and praise. Meditate on these things, whatever is modest, whatever is of good fame. If any praise of discipline, think on these things. Whatever things are admirable, amiable, whatever wins respect, cherish the thought of these things. As many as are grave, and finally, whatsoever rings truth. Isn't that beautiful? I have a bracelet. I don't have it on me. And it's an I Am a Giant Slayer. And I want to challenge you to get that bracelet from me. Every time you have a negative thought, every time a thought comes to you, say, I can't do this. Every time a thought that comes to you, what about tomorrow? Every time a thought says, I can't pay the bills. Every time a thought comes and says, what if I get sick? Every time a thought comes and says, what if my family comes into an accident? What if a thought comes to you, a negative thought? You take that bracelet off one hand, you change it, and you change the thought, you see. You start to change the thought. And you start to say, I can, I am, and I will. And you start to speak life into that situation, whatever it is, even if it doesn't look true yet. If your checkbook's on zero, and you believe the scripture that says that God will bless you according to his riches and glory, and your checkbook's not lining up with that, you just start speaking to that checkbook. You start speaking life to that checkbook. You start thinking life. You start believing, and then you start having action steps that help you make those things come true. Do you see that? So we do have to have some action. We can't just stay at home and hope that everything works out right, because it won't. It won't. You're going to have to put some feet to your faith. You're going to have to put some action to your faith. You might have to knock on some doors. You might have to knock on a lot of doors. If you're looking for a job, you might have to do some door knocking. You're just not going to sit home and pray that that job will come to you, you see. So we have to have corresponding actions. Now, I have heard this so many times. So many times. People say, well, Robert, you don't understand. You don't understand my situation. God moves in mysterious ways. People say that. Let me tell you this. I know how God moves. I don't mean to sound egotistical. I know exactly how God moves. He starts very small, and he starts inside. It's always very small and inside, or invisible even. And the results are invisible. For instance, he asks you to take a tiny little seed and he asks you to hide it in the earth and make it invisible to man's eye. And then he asks you to water that plant, water that tree. And he asks you to have faith in that seed, you see, and he will create the increase. It won't be an oak tree in one day, but one day it will be an oak tree. And if there's oak life in it. If there's apple life, there'll be apple life. If there's peach life, there'll be peach life. What seeds of greatness are in you? One seed you have is you have God on the inside of you. And what other seed did he put in you? What's his calling for you? What little seed does he have in you? And he wants you to believe in that seed and water that seed until that seed bears fruit. You see, so God always starts small and he always starts invisible. So the pastor of the church says, Lord, Lord, grow my church. And God says, no, grow your people. So the pastor says, Lord, Lord, grow my people. And he says, no, grow yourself. And so the moral of that story is that your organization grows to the extent that you grow. Your business grows as you grow. If you want your business to grow, if you want your income to grow, if you want to be rich on the outside, you need to be rich on the inside. You're not rich when you have a lot of money. You're rich when you fill your heart with all these good things that I shared with you, and they start to bubble out on the outside of you, and you start to share that enthusiasm, that passion, and you're living that life on fire through passion because you're not looking to man. You're not looking to the government. You're not looking to circumstances. You're not complaining about winter. You got a jacket, you see. You're not complaining about summer. You've got air conditioning. See, you know how to take care of the spring. In the spring, you're doing the planting. It's better to plant than it is to harvest. You say, no, I need a harvest. You can't harvest without a plant. It's better to give than receive. You say, no, I need to receive. You can't receive if you don't give. There's two spiritual truths. Ask and it shall be given unto you. Give and it shall be given unto you. I have a bold coach friend, Rob Daniels, that says that if you ask before you give, you're really taking. If you ask before you give, you're really taking. You need to fill your heart with riches and glory and positive, friendly words. And you need to let those positive, friendly words start coming out. A cheerful smile, a cheerful attitude. You go walking down the street and you're greeting people. How are you today? Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. You go into Walmart and you're greeting people. They think you work there. Sir, where's the tie-dye? Come on over here. Let me take you where it is. You start being nice to people. You put a smile on your face. That smile becomes contagious. You start saying positive, friendly words out there. You get enthusiastic. You say to yourself, I'm going to get to work 15, 20 minutes early. I'm going to stay 15, 28 minutes late. I'm going to be the best employee they've ever had. I'm going to work harder than anyone ever has. I'm not going to work for my hourly salary. I'm going to do more than enough. I'm going to be more valuable than what they're paying me. I want to make my company rich. I went to a convenience store the other day, and this bright young man said, what fantastic plans do you have today? That was a great question. I thought about it for a minute. I said, I'm meeting a realtor for business. He goes, well, good luck to you. That was a fantastic, enthusiastic greeting. We need to do that. That's our attitude. Our attitude will change our life. It's going to be slow increments, but you will see it happen. Good things will just start coming to you. Why? Because you're putting all the good things out there. You just start speaking that truth. You just start being nice. You start being friendly. You know, there's an old saying that if you want to have friends, show yourself friendly. There's a negative saying, which I think is not true, that we can only count friends on one hand. I don't believe that's true. That's only true if you're not giving of yourself for friends. You give and it shall be given back to you. I told you I was in an organization called BNI, Business Network International. It's all about referrals. Our philosophy in BNI is givers gain. And what we mean by that, the more that I give my customers, the more I help them in areas that I can't, by listening to their needs and saying, oh, by the way, I've got a guy for that. I've got a gal for that. I've got a company that can help you with that. I'm not getting paid for that. I'm giving them a referral. The definition of referral means to introduce to someone, that's me, introduces someone to an expert in their field. So I've made it my mission to meet as many experts as I can. So when I come to a customer or a contact or a friend or a loved one or a stranger, and I say, you know, how are you today? What fantastic plans do you have? I met a guy just the other day. His name is Larry Miller. I met him in the parking lot. He said, hey, do you know anybody that can fix my refrigerator? Out of the blue. I said, yes, sir. And I called my friend Curtis Rogers and he went and fixed the refrigerator. What I'm trying to say is that's what we do at BNI. It works in business. The more referrals you give, the more referrals you receive. It's a miracle. It's so awesome. It's amazing because the scripture does say, whatever you give shall be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men and women give unto your bosom. If you give referrals, you'll receive referrals. If you give smiles and friendships, you'll receive smiles and friendship back. If you pick up the trash, if you work a little harder, if you take the cart back to where it goes, if you put the clothes back in retail when you get something and you don't want it and you take it back and you put it where it goes and you get start putting all that energy out there, all that positive energy out there, and you're greeting people and saying hi to them, you're going to start feeling better. You might go from depression to joy. Why? Because we were conditioned for depression, and we start to change our conditioning by changing our actions. Tony Robbins says it like this: motion equals emotion. I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. I believe a lot of people have depression because of their actions. Now, I do know there's a medical condition. I just know this, and I've heard this from doctors. If you open up the windows, and if you get some exercise, and if you get a purpose and hobby, and you start moving, motion will equal emotion. If you start greeting people, if you start saying hello. I worked in a convenience store, the night shift, in the worst part of Tulsa, Oklahoma, from 10 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. And I tested it. I tried it. I tried it on criminals. I tried it on drug addicts. I tried it on drug dealers. I tried it on prostitutes. I tried it on desperately poor people and homeless people. And they would come in. And I would say the most positive things to them. And I could see a huge effect, not only on them, but in the whole store and the whole atmosphere. I wanted to say this a minute ago. I've been in BNI for 10 years, going on 11. I have heard over 10,000 10-minute presentations in the last 10 years. I have heard over 30,000 1-minute presentations in the last 10 years, okay? I have done a lot of networking, weekly networking. I've started these chapters. I've worked with hundreds of business owners, and I heard this so many times. Robert, it won't work for me. You don't understand the type of business I have. The economy, it's just so struggling. The way my customers, I had a lady and she said to me, her business, I have to read it because I'm so unfamiliar with the term, durable medical equipment. She came into the network and she goes, I have a business called Durable Medical Equipment and I can help people that are disabled. Nobody knew what that meant. And so we tried to coach her. I tried to coach her. And I used the word try because I failed. I normally don't like to use the word try because Yoda says, there is no try. There's do and there's not do. I didn't do it. I tried. I put forth effort. I put forth a lot of effort. And I believe that when you put forth a lot of effort, you get stronger. You don't get stronger because you win. You don't get stronger because you lose. You get stronger by the effort you put into the thing. And when you put 100% effort in it, God will be the one that gives the first participation trophy. I don't like the way that sounds, but guess what? He'll give you a participation trophy. He'll make you stronger. He'll make you the winner. He'll encourage you. He'll lift you up. And he says, yeah, you lost this time, but you put everything in it. And so therefore you're stronger and you're ready to go to the next time. See, it's not winning that makes you stronger. It's not losing that makes you stronger. Sometimes losing makes you bitter. It's trying your hardest, pushing through, doing your best. God will know that you did your best and you will know that you did your best, and that makes you a real winner. And next time when you're up to bat, you're going to bat even better. Why? Because you're stronger, you're better, even though it seemed like you lost. So anyway, durable medical equipment. I tried to help her and I failed. I said, well, what is durable medical equipment? I said, well, first of all, and she talked for 15 minutes. There was a doctor in the room. He's a veterinarian. And I said, doctor, what do you think she sells? And he described this $10,000 machine made out of stainless steel, keeping life support victims on. Everybody thought it was that. No, it was delivering diapers to people that are disabled. She was so discombobulated in her mind. She didn't even know how to say, I can help people that are disabled and need help with Huggies and Pampers. And we give out Huggies and Pampers, and my competitors give out discount diapers that leak and have all kinds of problems. I looked at her and I said, and keep in mind, I'm using her as an example. Woe is me. I can't break through. I can't get through the big companies. The big companies are selling cheap diapers, and I'm selling great big diapers, good diapers that don't leak. And she was just woe is me. And I said, you had me at Huggies. You had me at Pampers. Change your story. Change your message. I can help people that need help in this area. You see, I hope I'm not just muddying this up. She muddied it so bad, it's hard for me to clean it up. She even called it DME. DME, what's that mean? Huggy diapers. You see, she started with a negative slant and a negative attitude. She didn't understand her message. She didn't understand how she could help people. And therefore, all those around her could not help her. Okay? I tried to help her and failed. I tried to help this other guy. He told me, he goes, you don't understand, Robert. You don't understand my business. He said, my business is, he was a realtor. And he said this, that his customers think this about him. And I said, wow, so let me get this straight. You think that your customer thinks that you think. Yeah, that's about right. That isn't true. We don't know what the customer's thinking. We don't know what the other person's thinking. We only know what we're thinking. You see, he didn't think that the customer would trust him. He didn't think that he was trustable. And so therefore, he didn't think that they were going to automatically trust him. So he had to try to figure out how I could overcome them not trusting me. And that was his strategy. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? If you're ever trying to help somebody and they're telling you all the reasons why things won't work, well, one of the things I do, it's kind of a trick. I say, well, it works 50% of the time. And people say, that's what I thought. And I go, well, when you don't do it, it won't work. And when you do it, it will work. What? That's 50% of the time. If you do it, it'll work. And if you don't do it, it won't work. You see, if we do it, if we go into that sales negotiation, believing in ourselves, believing in our product, believing that we're coming in contribution, another bold law, believing that we're trying to help somebody. Zig Ziglar says you can have anything you want in life as long as you help enough people get what they want. Zig Ziglar says that if you don't sell somebody your valuable, worthwhile product, you're cheating them. You see, so if you're trying to help somebody, I learned this, I'm a John Maxwell coach. I learned this at John Maxwell Training. There was a wonderful guy named Paul Martinelli, and he used to stutter as a child, and he overcame that stuttering, and he's a fantastic guy. He's a fantastic speaker. He's amazing. And he said this, he told us to write this down. He said, when somebody's telling you why it won't work, when somebody's telling you all the reasons why it won't work when you tell them, he said, just write this word down. And he said, and keep it in front of you. So when they're talking to you, you just read it. You just read it. You just read it. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. He said, because if you won't read this and you start listening to them, they're going to convince you that it won't work. They're going to even talk you out of your faith. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here, let me close with this, is that we have competing software in our head. Our thoughts are like software, okay? And so, like, let's say one of my softwares is, God will bless me according to his riches and glory. That's a pretty good software. That's a pretty good thought process. And then I have a second thought. I don't have to fight, or God is my provider, not mine. God is my provider, not mine. That's a wonderful thought as well. Then I get another thought, and I think this sounds noble. I don't have to fight for what's mine. If you say that you don't want to pay me what I'm due, why do I need to fight you? God's on my side. I don't need to worry about somebody like you. And that can be a negative thought. Sometimes we don't know it's a negative thought. And then this one is really negative. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. So what happens is this, ladies and gentlemen, when we go into a sales training, when we go into a sales negotiation, when we go into an environment where we need to win, when we need to instill some sort of confidence in the customer or in the other person, and we don't believe in ourselves, they won't believe in us. If we don't believe in ourselves, they won't believe in us. And so what I learned is that when I was dealing in sales, somebody was going to try to take my money. I wasn't giving it to them. I was letting them have it because I didn't think I deserved it. And I had these competing softwares. God's going to meet my needs. I don't have to fight for it. You just go ahead and take it, because after all, I really don't deserve it. We need to learn, ladies and gentlemen, that we do deserve it, that we deserve the things that God has said for us. We deserve the things that are true. We deserve the things that he has promised us. And so if you will start to change your thinking, you'll change your world. When you look in the mirror and you change your words and you change your scripts and you go into that sales negotiation or that job interview, I deserve this. I deserve this. And you change your attitude, you're going to see your life change. My name is Robert Mitchell. Go to my website, robertallenmitchell.com. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Your time is valuable. Have a great day.